You always talk about compliance, and as a coach, we own the compliance of our client, and that's responsibility and good coaching. Yeah. When you coach athletes, the reason I say you don't own their compliance is because athletes are special. Why are athletes special? Why is anybody special? Because they choose to be. Yeah, no worries. Sumair's got the phone ringing, and he's so important. He's got to answer it. So hot, Shotty. But the reason I say that is because they chose to be special. If you want to do something special, and so I kind of always charge them with own it, right? Ownership. Yeah. Owning. So when you say honor where you're at, I'm own where you're at. But I love way more honor. Honor. It's ownership's implied. Yeah. Right. If you honor, you're already owned. Yeah. But you're well beyond that. That's true. Right. And I think that it's kind of like goal setting. If you're a football player, don't aim to play college football. Aim to play NFL football, and as a result, you're going to play college football. If your goal is that high, playing college football is a byproduct and a given on the way to the NFL, whether you reach it or not. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of, I think, even in this sense, honoring where you're at to go to the next place, to become a little bit healthier. That's ownership's involved, and I think I'm gonna steal that from you, just like I stole the other thing from Lauren. But
yeah, totally, go for it.
And I really like that. And actually, so going off of that, where I'm having these issues, I guess, with players is I'm kind of creating, I'm trying to create a leveled approach for them in a way, and I have to kind of put this together. But for me, level 1. And we think that, okay, be an athlete, own it. But what you start to realize is that the young men are completely incompetent at cooking. Mm-hmm. Completely. And I'm starting to see that maybe level 1 for them is don't eat like an asshole, learn how to cook basics. So maybe that's level 1. And then, and this is performance eating, but there are levels to performance, right? You're going to perform better if you don't eat Burger King and Doritos. And our guys are traveling on the plane and they're eating Doritos and full pizzas in the airport. And even when you choose a salad in the airport food's dirty because it's been sitting there and it just makes you not feel great, but it's levels. Yeah. And there are certain things that you cannot chalk up to knowledge. I mean, that is unacceptable to me. Honor your body at a baseline that you're not going to eat Doritos, right? So maybe it's about honor level 1, learn how to cook. Honor level 2, make a better choice. Let's honor number 3. Let's look at the quality. Honor number 4. Then let's look at making sure, because really, at the baseline for an athlete, they need to eat high quality, make sure they have enough energy and are getting an ample amount of protein. Beyond that, they really need to just eat as much as they desire of good food. And that will kind of self-regulate it. But it seems that I thought that'd be such an easy message, but it's not. And maybe honoring might be a good way to get these young guys to just at least first level, second level, get it.
Yeah. No, I think the word honor is it hits home. It really hits home hard because it's you. It's do you honor yourself? Do you love yourself enough to honor yourself? That's a different level of it. We talk about discipline, and Charles Poliquin has a pretty cool article about it. He talks about discipline being such a constrained thing. People are oh, discipline, I gotta be disciplined. And they keep glorifying it through all your commercials. Discipline gets you this. And yeah, it's true. You can look at it that way, but maybe a different way of looking at it is a part of honor, and it's a part of love too. It's how much do you love yourself in order to do these things that are going to make you feel amazing and perform better? Yes or no? And it's a hard-hitting question, and it makes you probably think twice and probably scared as shit because you're wow, do I love myself? That's a hard thing to think about, especially as a child, as a kid who's not even gone through that much life experience. Or maybe you have, I don't know, maybe you have a lot of life experience, but still, as a kid, that's not something you typically think about. But I think there's also this big delusion for athletes and even people that want to quote unquote bulk and put on muscle and size. The delusion of just eat whatever calories in, calories out, right? Just eat whatever in sight. And there's another cool article I read, go figure, and they were talking about the bulking delusion. And the bulking delusion is you eat whatever you want, and yet you're causing so much metabolic damage and inflammation in your gut because your gut's not able to agree with the foods you're putting into your body. And as a result, you're creating this insulin resistance. You're creating all sorts of hormonal disruptions. Your testosterone's gone out of whack, and now your ability to burn fat and put on muscles is far worse, or it's far diminished than what it was before, prior to eating all these shitty foods. So you think you're putting on this quality weight, and yet you're putting on this really shitty weight as a result. Yeah,
right. Because I mean, calories have no impact on the gut. I mean, the gut does not recognize the quantity. I mean, yes, it understands there's a large bolus, a large quantity, like a large amount, but it doesn't recognize that, like, you're trying to put on weight because you're eating, a lot of calories, right? It's going to recognize the cellular quality. It's is it a damaged fat? Is it a whole fat? So the gut's going to absorb, right? That's the entire point, is going to be digestion and absorption. Well, what it absorbs is based on what it is and the integrity of what it is. Yeah. Whether it's damaged, whether it's whether it mimics a foreign object, kind of like a gluten protein, or maybe like a soy, which mimics more like an estrogen. Yeah. What does the food look like to the lining of the intestinal wall, and then that'll determine what's absorbed. It doesn't care how many calories that molecule is worth. Yeah. It doesn't care how many calories a protein is worth, because the calorie is just the energy expended to break it apart. So it doesn't care how much energy it takes to break it apart. It cares about what it can absorb from it. Right. And I think this bulking myth and this athlete myth is that the energy needed to break apart the molecule is what matters more than the molecule itself and what's absorbed. And that's complete. Exactly. Just, I mean, like, maybe breaking it down this way, it'll sink in. But to me, I never really thought about it, and maybe I never put it into these words and described it this way. But once I do, it's kind of like, yeah, you're eating like an asshole, because it's just like, yeah, exactly. It's like right out, and it's just calories that are not absorbing. So
yeah, I think. So true. I mean, in order for the food to go through your body, it has to be digested, and the breakdown has to be absorbed, assimilated. It needs to go where it needs to go. The tissue.
Assimilation's a whole other issue.
It's a whole other issue, and then eliminated, right? But if you're just digesting and your food's like, what the fuck is this? I'm gonna eliminate it. It's just like eating like an asshole. It's like, what is this? I'm gonna inflame your gut saying you're being stupid, and then I'm gonna eliminate it saying you're an asshole, right? That's basically like
exactly. Yeah, I mean, and you're totally right. Assimilation's a whole other issue. Even if it pulls it in and absorbs it, I mean, is it gonna? Do you want that a part of you? Do you want pizza to make up your muscle? Like, when you flex your muscles out on the beach, do you want people to see pizza? Like that's not what I want to look like. So so anyway, that's kind of what I'm facing with diet is right there. But
you know what's funny too is, like, I see this a lot on Instagram or Facebook. People are like, oh, I do the flexible dieting, and
right,
and look at me, I can eat Pop-Tarts and still look freaking ripped. And I think that sends quite a misconstrued message. Like,
diabetes.
Yeah, people are like, oh yeah, look at him, he's ripped, I can do it too. So again, honor yourself. Honor yourself. Again, it always goes back to that. Like, yeah, you look at this person and he may have gotten there, but there's several factors that may have gotten there. Like, you don't know, like, exactly what his lifestyle is like, what his genetics are like. You have no idea. Right. And for you to think that that's the case for you, that's like very hubristic. It's just like, dude, it's not true. It's just not true.
Yeah, and it's kind of like how I talk about the unbreakable athlete, right? Like, and even as we talk about this, it's kind of like the broken athlete is someone who has brought dishonor to himself,
Yeah.
You know, like in many of the Eastern cultures, that like it's very important to bring, and this is something I'm desperately missing, that we are desperately missing in Western culture, is honor. Is honoring yourself, honoring your parents, honoring those older than you, honoring, you know, structure, right? Yeah. And you're right, discipline's a part of that, love's a part of that. Like honor is all encompassing, and I think that if you're kind of broken metabolically, and you're broken health, and you're broken in your mind, like there's an element of dishonor that you have to address. Yeah. And the point of individuality is so crucial, because you could take my doppelganger, like you could take my absolute, you know, 6 foot, blonde hair, blue eyes, skinny, you know, 165 pounds, and all those things even, and they're still going to have a totally different internal environment, possibly a different moving environment, and they're gonna consume a different amount of carbohydrate, protein, and fat. And maybe the protein will be similar because of body weight, but that's about it. Yeah. Everything else is going to be, and even that will be slightly different. I mean, let's being honest, like, and so you can't necessarily base everything off macros. Yeah. It can't be a macro discussion, because then it's not a discussion of how your food makes you feel. It's about, you know, am I hitting this number? And the number doesn't determine what's assimilated, as we talked about. Exactly. So does that mean that the amounts that you eat don't matter? Oh, hell no. It does matter, because the amount has quantity at a certain point. It dictates basically energy balance. But energy balance is it cannot be distorted for quality in assimilation and absorption. You know, and that's where we have young athletes who are fat.
It's true. I mean, it's so true, and I think it, when you talking about Eastern culture, Eastern philosophy, and in reference to how we are, the Western culture right now, I think it really hit home a lot for me. And I was just thinking about that, and you think about how kids grow up in society nowadays, and how they like interact with each other, and the things they value. Like, you know, of course, like this is having meals together, eating together, having snacks together. It's valued amongst the entire world. But how you have meals together and in what context you have meals together, I think really, really changes the game. It's like, okay, we're having this meal, but is it just to feel something transiently, something quick? Oh man, we gotta do this because it's like, it feels good, and then that's all you think about. And then it's exactly, you know, what is it surrounding? And if it's not surrounding like your, in terms of being an athlete, if it's not surrounding your best performing self, then you're shooting yourself in the foot. And as a human being, if you're not honoring your being, then again, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Because if you don't honor your being, then from that place, you're coming from a place of dishonor. So whatever action you take proceeds from that place. And it's a very powerful and scary concept to embrace. But boy, does it change your life, you know? Like,
yeah, and I think for me, what's kind of become shocking is that this is only obviously a select few. It's fewer people who are eating with that dishonor, but and most of them just lack. You know, they might be eating like a bodybuilding chicken and rice, lower fat, and honestly, like that's because it's what they've learned. Right. But that takes a lot of discipline, and it may not be the best for athlete performance. I mean, clearly it can create great body composition, and it's not like the bodybuilding community hasn't known this for many, many years, and cutting carbohydrates will cut your body fat, and increasing them will change your metabolism. Like, this is stuff that they've mastered for years. But that diet is not based around human performance. And so my athletes that are following that, it's more about selling them on that's not the way you might perform the best. Yeah. And we need to maybe address some of the other human performance issues. But the guys who are dishonoring their bodies, it's even less about performance for me and more about who they are as a person. Because who you are as a person, I mean, if you're an athlete, are you not a human? Are you not a person? Are you not someone who approaches your craft? Are you approaching your craft with honor? Yeah. And that's what I love about especially like the older, like the samurais and the feudal Japan.